Colton, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, he could hear us.
Great, thank you. It's just
We're echoing.
Yeah,
But that's the only way we're hearing him, so that's the only way we're hearing him. Colton, can you test? Can you say something?
Sure. Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can't hear you, Colton, so give us just a second. Can you go ahead and start counting?
You want me to count?
You go,
There you go, we
perfect.
gotcha.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Great, great.
Sorry for the delay, Colton.
you want me to start counting? Huh?
All right, Chair will call the meeting to order
Thank you.
at 6:13. We'll start with roll call.
We don't have much.
All right, roll call. Brian,
Here.
Carl,
Here.
Colton.
Here.
Don. Here. Roger,
Here.
Susan,
Here.
Tina.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, any guest business? Looks like no. All right, we'll move on to action items. Can I get a motion to approve our January 2024 meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion approved. Can I get a motion to approve our March 2024 meeting?
One moment. We'll have to vote. So we had a first, a second, and then a vote, please.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the March 2024 meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the April 2024 meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, next item on the agenda, adopt official trip name. Jill?
Good evening. So the city staff has been working with the staff from the city of Marysville to develop the Bayview Trail. And I presented on the trail before showing the general alignment. The trail that Lake Stevens is proposing, it will run from the south, 20th Street Southeast on the property that we're going to speak about next on the agenda. And it will travel north to join up with the city of Marysville's trail at Soper Hill is our city line. And that's Marysville's going to bring their trail down south to that point. And we're going to bring ours north to that point, at which point we will have connection through the city of Marysville up to the Centennial Trail where they've already made connection just north of Getchell Road. So when that trail, it's been talked about just at the staff level as we're going to have a new trail and it's going to be in the city of Lake Stevens. And so when we were looking at what we would call it, and we were also considering our grant applications, we think that it would be a regional draw for this trail, and the connectivity that's already been made is very desirable. So when thinking about whether to name it separately in the city of Lake Stevens, we think of trails like the Centennial Trail that have already gone through city limits. They start in, it starts in the city of Snohomish, and then it goes into the county, and then it comes into the city of Lake Stevens, and then it goes into the county and goes into the city of Arlington, and then it goes back into the county. But it keeps its name throughout that entire trail to really give it a regional feel. And so we think that the continuity of maintaining the name of the trail that's already been adopted by the city of Marysville would help us when we're presenting this trail, and then also for for the users to know it's the same trail. You know, if you enter the Centennial Trail at any point, you're always going to be able to make connection to the Centennial Trail rather than a portion of it named a different name. So we think that this would be great for the sports enthusiasts, the leisure walker, and the users of the trail to have that continuity. So this is a bit of a deviation. This is the first time the city has, is starting to develop portions of the trail master plan that you all adopted in 2020. And so we thought, for some of the other trails that are just internal to Lake Stevens, it may be appropriate to come up with separate names for those. But this trail, we were proposing to the park board if they would forward a recommendation to city council to adopt the existing trail, Bayview Trail name, and from the city of Marysville. So I wanted to present you with that and let you ask any questions that you have and talk it over and get your feelings about that.
Me?
Question two.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just got the part that's in Lake Stevens, you can't see any bay, can you?
Actually, you can.
Okay.
You can through Frontier Heights Park. We have on the trail so
yeah.
portions of the trail that's already been built in Frontier Heights Park, you can see the bay from.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any additional spaces. I think probably maybe as you're approaching Soper Hill, you might, but I'm not positive.
Well, is there gonna be a bridge over that gulch?
At this time, the proposed alignment is to go north from Frontier Heights over Lundin, and then you would drop down and there would be a raised boardwalk through that wetland complex, and then it would be a trail up.
So you traverse
Correct.
up.
Correct. Right now, a bridge in that section would be, right now in today's, would be cost prohibitive. Not that you can come back later and do it, but it would be a massive structure.
So Jill, when you're saying you go down and up, does that mean stairs?
It would be traversed. It would still be a
What does that
paved
mean?
trail. It would kind of switch back
Okay,
and forth. Yeah.
okay.
Would it be ADA accessible?
That particular portion of it, I don't believe we would be able to meet AASHTO standards. We're at a 30% design, and as these sections are permitted and built, 100% designs will bring us all of the information. And, if it's appropriate at that time, or if that's the appetite to do a bridge or to do some other mechanism, then those are explored as they come up through permitting and cost analysis.
Is there a sidewalk on that bridge on Highway 9?
I think there's a widened shoulder, but there's not like a separation.
And where this trail connects, he said it connects to the Centennial Trail, but does it go by that? There's like a saltwater park down in Marysville. There's I don't know what the name of that trail is, but it kind of connects down to the sewer treatment plant.
That's the EB view. I think that's the EB trail or EB View Trail.
Oh.
Don't quote me on it. It does not connect with that. This stays up on the ridge in Marysville
Okay.
and then drops down. So where it makes connection to the Centennial Trail is just north of Getchell.
Gotcha.
So, and then it peels off underneath Highway 9, and then it comes out just east of the school. And then it catches an alignment that keeps it in a corridor all the way down to 64th or 4th Street, Marysville.
And
And
Jill,
that's where it ends.
I'm sorry. Is the connector to the Centennial Trail, like you said, by Getchell, is that what's out there now that's like a paved
Correct,
half-mile kind of thing?
correct.
Yeah, okay, just found that.
Yeah.
And the Bayside Trail, are they in Marysville? Is it along the power lines? And is it gonna be along the power lines in Lake Stevens the whole way?
The Bayview Trail is, I believe, on the pipeline in Marysville. The alignment that it's in, I think it kind of shifts alignment. So I think that there are sections of it that have other utilities. I know the pipeline is present in the section that we're proposing to build, or that they're proposing to build. And then once it gets to us, it will go down 83rd, so kind of by Crosswater. So that's not under the power lines, but then it'll dip around and then it will catch part of the power line corridor. Then it kind of deviates outside of it and it comes back in.
So
But
what-
yeah, mainly. it's
When it
underneath
comes to
power
the
line.
power lines though, is it the section that's like this? You know, just hills and, you know,
There
Because you
is some
can-
topography. When you get to Holbert Creek, which is the section north of Lundin and then south of Soper Hill, there's a lot of topography. And we really explored ways to avoid that. We looked at numerous different alignments and we just could not find one that
so you're gonna leave that dirt? Are you gonna put asphalt or cement there?
asphalt, it'll be asphalt. Yeah,
And that is gonna be like the width of like Centennial or?
Correct.
narrower? Okay.
yeah.
Nice. I don't-
Does this connect to the West Lake Stevens Trail, the West Side Trail?
This is the West Side Trail.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So we will call this the Bayview Trail then. It won't be called
And-
the West.
Correct, until it gets down to 20th Street.
Once it gets to 20th Street, it's gonna be the West Lake Stevens Trail or the Lake.
Well, when it gets down to 20th Street, we haven't tied in that connection yet that goes to the South Lake Stevens Trail. That's where it's going to go eventually. But at this point, I don't know if it'll be running parallel to 20th Street until we get to the turnoff to Costco and then pick up the South Lake Stevens Trail at that point, or how exactly that's going to go. So that section of it would be an internal Lake Stevens Trail, or a fragment, I suppose, at that point. And so then that one would probably, we'd look for
Do they plan,
different names on that one, but
do
the,
they plan on connecting that to the Centennial Trail?
well, that's always been the hope. There is quite a bit of topography between 9 and South Lake Stevens Road to the Centennial and Machias. So right now, the city is looking at concentrating the connection to the Centennial Trail being 16th down here. Because the topography is a nice, it's a much easier, so widening 16th and going down to the Centennial. And then you could loop up because then you could come up through Hartford, the connection there.
A lot of potential.
There is a ton of potential. And when we had the 20th the trail master plan, it was vetted for, I would say the 1,000-foot level of, this looks feasible. When you get into it and then you see that what looked really great from the aerial is now a 1,200-foot crevice. It's a different, so as we develop each section of it, more investigation is done. This is the only trail in the master trail plan right now that would be joining with another jurisdiction other than the Centennial Trail.
And so do you know what the highest elevation of this trail is?
I don't, I can find that out for you.
Well, I like the reasoning that the staff has for keeping it the same name all the way through. Whatever cities it goes through, I think that that's important, just like the Centennial Trail, everybody knows what that is. So I think that the Bayview Trail is the smart thing to do.
Thank you.
Smart name.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So do we make a motion?
Mhm.
Can I get a motion to? Yes, for the recommendation of city council to formally adopt a name for the park. Oh, no, that's not what. Sorry,
Will be
we-
on page 10 of your packet is the staff report. It has the Adopt the Bayview Trail.
okay, so. So the. I get a motion to adopt the Bayview Trail as a preferred name for the trail that connects Lake Stevens and Marysville.
I move that we make the preferred name for the connection between Centennial Trail and Marysville
Marysville and Lake Stevens.
and Lake Stevens, Bayview Trail.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Colton, could we get your vote? You might have been on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was on mute. That was an aye for me. In favor.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, so up next is the public hearing for naming the property formerly known as the 20th Street Ball Fields. As chair, I will open the public meeting. We don't have any public here, so we can discuss within the park board. The names on page 16.
Yeah, I can start with my staff presentation.
Go ahead.
So this is the public hearing for naming of the property formerly known as the 20th Street Ball Fields. Staff has prepared a staff report for you. We have an adopted parks naming policy, and that's policy P390. And pursuant to that adopted policy, the staff has solicited park names from the public. We have done that via social media, via the website, in the newspaper, and then also, in this packet, we have a survey that we sent out to the public. It was a 2-question survey. What is your suggested name? And then does it fit with the criteria of that's outlined in the parks naming policy? We've also noticed the public hearing in the Everett Herald newspaper, and we've posted it at City Hall as well as on the webpage for the meeting. Today, all of the naming suggestions that we've received as of May 8th, so that I could get it into your packet, are presented in front of you. I have not received any additional names via email or any communication with staff. So the list of the names have been attached for you at the end of this particular agenda item. They're in a format like a grid, and we've had, I think it ended up being, I think this is the most that I've received since I've been on staff with the city. So I think that we did a good job at getting the word out, but I am presenting those to the park board for their deliberation and decision on a name to forward to the city council.
Jill, do we have?
Oh,
to-
I'm sorry. I do need to make one note. I'm honored that I was nominated, that my last name was nominated. I joked and said, there will be something else that someone can mispronounce. However, obviously I would respectfully decline that. So thanks. Go ahead, Tina. I'm sorry.
Do we need to read the names?
We do
out?
not need to read the
Okay.
names out.
Okay.
So at the end of this, yes, so at the end of the staff presentation, then I will entertain any of the questions from the board. And then the proponents' comments. I know I talked with Brian briefly about this. In this case, there isn't really a proponent other than the public. And so if anyone was here and they wanted to present, then they could do so at that time. But at this time, if anybody has any
Has the
questions.
city come up with any names besides yours?
So the city did put, I did not nominate myself, I
your daughter?
promise. No, and it wasn't my daughter. So Sarah looked up some historical names, and so we provided those for you down at the bottom of it. It says historical names.
Mhm.
Those are just for your consideration from staff. We were able to find some old maps of the area from the turn of the century, I think. And so Sarah just grabbed some of the names, that were on there, and we provided them for you. And then any other suggestions were just sent in through the survey and provided for you here.
We
Sure.
did send out an internal citywide email
Okay.
allowing everybody to know that public comment period was open and they would have used the portal. So we wouldn't know of the list, which ones came from staff or which ones came from the public.
We know where one came from. Now, do you want us to talk about these names now, or you want to wait till you get done, or?
I've concluded my presentation, and you are welcome to ask me any questions or deliberate and talk amongst yourself. I think I'm still on point, aren't I here? Brian,
Yep.
I apologize.
So I think we can just deliberate amongst ourselves. Does anyone have any specific names that they would like to bring up for discussion or any names that they'd like to strike? You know,
I have two names that come to mind. And one is Spencer Park. And the other one is Carl Johnson Park. And he doesn't want it. So
He's still waiting for his kitty.
but the reason being is that, just like it says in the criteria, it says that the name may recognize a local individual or group who has contributed to the betterment of the city and who has played an important role in the development of the community. And it also says individuals will be considered who have made an outstanding contribution to the facility, either by providing the initial idea for the project or by contributing time and material resources. So I think Mayor Spencer was the impetus, if I remember, behind getting all the parks going. Am I correct? Or was it before him?
Well, it's been a long time battle, but
I think he was the impetus in terms of like renovating all the parks.
Getting the park system happening. And so,
I think when he was mayor, though, there wasn't a lot of parks available. So, and I don't know how many he brought in when he was the mayor, because we were in a lull at that time for parks. And it really hasn't exploded until like the last 4 or 5 years.
There is a John Spencer Recreational Park, a Spencer Park, that one.
yeah, I did.
Right.
That's where I got my idea, was that somebody.
So you're wanting to nominate that one. And,
And I think that it's not very often that you get to name a park or a trail. And when Mayor Spencer did the North Cove Park and everything, he does have a plaque here, but he took 0 credit. I have no idea if he would even entertain having a park named after him. My guess would be that he would probably not want to, but I feel like as long as I've been on the board and as when he was mayor, he really made sure that the finances were in place to do all these updates. He, when it says that that consider someone who's made the initial idea for the project, I feel like that's where it came from. But I could be wrong. Carl, what do you know?
Well, I think he wouldn't mind
You think you wouldn't mind?
at first. Or on second. I don't know. I think he'd be open to it. Cause he's done a lot, spent a lot of hours and years, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
With a lot of common sense moves. So it kind of
Yeah.
be
You sure it can't be
I
Carl
can't think of any
Johnson?
other time that his name has been brought up to name something or a park or a operation at City Hall or city community. So I think that's probably a pretty good choice.
I'm sorry, Roger.
I agree with, Mayor Spencer, but at the same time, if you're gonna look at it that way, you gotta throw Russ in there, Russ Whitebeak, right? Because he was the one that really got everything going, kicked everybody in the butt. That's the impression that we got from Russ, okay? I mean, he really was an influential part of the Parks Board at the time, because he was there when everything started, the money started coming in, and, before the money came in, he'd always find ways to do little things. But, so that's just my take on the Spencer, trying to help do the parks. But the other thing is, I think that, for recognitional purposes, that you have to throw Cavallaro in there, because if you are at, some place, some goes, oh yeah, the new, Cavallaro Rec Center or whatever, they'll know where Cavallaro is, they know, oh, it's over there somewhere. But if you say, oh yeah, it's the Bayside Trail, it's like, well, where's Bayside? No one's ever heard of Bayside. So, and if it's historical, that Cavallaro Hill has been, a lot of stuff happened there. That was old time neighborhood.
Are you proposing, we have pinned Cavallaro to the beginning?
Yeah, something, this one person said, I think it's Colorado or he put Caballero Complex. I'm assuming he thought it was Caballero.
Yeah, it might have been a typo.
Yeah, and then, I like the Caballero Park and Trailhead or Caballero Trailhead and Park. And just for identity purposes.
Cause we already have Cavallero Park where the skate park is.
Right.
So that would be,
But you'd have to change the name, something, but I just think for recognition, people will know where that is.
okay. Any other favorites, Carl?
Yeah, I like your idea of Russ because he put a lot of stuff together under some very rough conditions.
Yeah,
And was successful with it. And then I have a comment on the Norwegian or your Heyerdahl. They were Scandinavians. Because there's Norwegians, there were Swedes, there was Finns,
Mhm,
they were predominant, so
mhm.
Norwegian, we have to change to Scandinavian. That's my suggestion.
So like your suggestion is Scandinavian Park?
I think he was just correcting the narrative.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Scandinavian. Okay, any other names that you'd like to discuss?
Well, one other thing is I see that there's like Coach Try and stuff like that. Well, what about the wrestling coach that brought, so many titles, Lake Stevens state championship? So Burns, just for a sports recognition.
On Brooks.
I have no idea.
Rob Brooks was with our police department for, I want to say like 30 years. He started the Marine Patrol on Lake Stevens, and he retired just a few years ago.
I think there's a decision to be made whether we're talking about possibly ease of use of figuring out where the park is versus honoring somebody. And maybe that's a decision that we can try to parse with this, because Mitchell Park, Legacy
Mitchell, yeah.
Pharmacy, there's
Mhm.
Russ, of course. John Spencer, of course, Terry Spencer.
Are the Mitchells still here? I know he died.
I just think of the legacy of
Yeah.
those guys. That's how I think of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the Mitchell family. But so maybe we look at it could we possibly look at it that way as far as which direction we want to go with it?
Yeah, so like something like Powerline Park or something like that would be also like you're saying would signify where it is.
Yeah, or like the one that popped up for me was the Westview one that was on the first page,
Mhm.
because again, location wise, Hewitt also, it's almost so obvious, it's not even kind of fun.
Westview was my
Westview-
second choice.
Westview Park and Trailhead.
That was my second choice.
Yeah.
I have another point,
What about Westlake? I didn't see that on there.
or a question, suggestion. Who was, I can't think of his name offhand, but it was the UW basketball player.
Harshman?
Coach.
James.
James, no, it's Harshman.
He was from Lake Stevens.
Yeah. It wasn't Harshman. It was the guy after
Or
James.
no, maybe it was Harshman.
I think it was Harshman,
I
Mark
think it was
Harshman.
Harshman.
I mean, he's a national, of course, now people don't probably recognize him anymore, but
We'd have to double check, but that's the name that rings the bell.
yeah, I think it was
About
Harshman.
my uncle's age.
Yeah.
They went to high school together, so.
So Susan,
Mhm.
to clarify what you're thinking, does it mean that you'd like us to say, make a decision about, do we want to make it an honorary or do we want to make it a location? At least narrow that down.
I think for narrowing it down, it might be helpful.
Mhm.
And I couldn't tell exactly which way I'm swayed right now.
I know.
But I think it might help from a group discussion. Try to parse it a little bit.
Yeah, but we only have between now and soon because we don't meet again for another couple months. That would be too late, won't it?
Well, you always have the option
Right.
to continue it. But yes, it would be 2 months. And then, you know, you could,
Well, I move that we make it honorary.
Before you do that, if it's possible.
Yeah.
And we contacted the Historical Society and all.
we did, we made a couple, we also contacted the library to ask if they had any historical information on it. And we weren't able to come up with anything, but I will say that the Historical Society may have submitted online.
Mm.
So,
Is there a way to do an honorary name with a non-honorary name as well? So like what they have on you'll have like Lock Road is like the historic name, but it's actually 108th. Would we have the option of doing something like that?
yeah, you can, I've seen in the past, you give it a name and then you can do a dedication during that, or you can recognize, you know, people on the plaque. If you want to have a plaque placed there. It's entirely up to.
That's
I like that
I
idea.
like that idea.
Yeah, so that would be my suggestion, is that we give the park a place name, and then maybe we honor certain individuals that made the parks possible. Maybe we make a plaque for John Spencer and for Russ and a couple of other people that were
Yes.
significant to the creation of the parks or had a huge contribution to Lake Stevens Parks in general.
So I withdraw my motion.
So I would suggest, let's pick a place name, and then maybe we can also discuss like who we'd like to honor on it. Would that be something we need to talk about another time?
Yeah, you can always come back. You know, at the completion of construction is when we would be looking at that. You know, that type
So
of,
the honorary kind of like plaques.
sure, yeah.
It's kind of interesting, all the streets used to have names.
You know, they did, and
And
some of the
They started
historical.
numbering them, now we're trying to name them again.
Yeah, it became a problem for emergency medical services. So they had to kind of say, let's go back to the grid system. So you'll see in some instances, the Brown name or the name in Brown is the historical name, and they'll maintain that, but then give it a number too.
But Loft was by the
Yep.
Public Works building.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea when someone said Hewitt, because he had a significant impact on the city. Yeah.
Who is he?
Henry Hewitt was
I think it was Henry, but he,
was the son of founder of Everett.
yeah,
So you're saying
that for the No. park
name?
Everett was Henry Hewitt's son's name. So they named, he was one of the people that was like an investor with Rockefeller,
Yeah.
I think, and in the Monte Cristo mines and setting up
the
Everett.
lumber. Did they had a mill, those in the mill, was that Hewitt owned part of this mill too, or is that?
Rucker.
That was
Rucker.
Rucker Brothers. Mill.
Yeah, and Hewitt, of course, was the name of the road
And
before it was called 20th Street
and
Southeast. It was the Hewitt Avenue Trestle, and that was the name of the road that
Oh.
was 20th, and it ran all the way into Everett. Actually, that area, if you guys remember, was Everett, and it was
Right.
had a 98205
Yeah.
a zip code.
You could call it,
Henry Hewitt Park.
Or-
That'd be an
or-
honorary name too, though.
or Hewitt Trestle.
Not like it's in Everett and not like Stevens being,
Mhm.
I feel like I think of you and I think of Everett, I don't
I
think
know,
of
I did too.
here.
I totally think of Everett.
True.
I still like my Westview Park one.
I like West.
I like Westview Park too.
Kind of general and friendly.
I like
Okay,
Westview Park
but-
and
On the
Trail.
road.
But if someone came up and said, oh, did you go to the new Westview Park? It's like, well, where the heck is Westview? I mean, I've lived here for, 40 years. I don't know where Westview is. I know, I've heard the
They said
name,
West Lake
Westlake.
Park.
Well, when you say Westlake, I think of downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
looks like there's Westview Park and Trailhead and Westlake Hub or Westlake Complex.
Yeah, but it's not really known as Westview. I mean, Cavallaro is known as Cavallaro. I mean, if you,
But we
The
are-
only issue that we would have, and I don't want to, I just want to offer a bit of information, I guess. We call Cavallaro Park Cav or Cavallaro. And so when we use them as working names, we tend to shorten them and we'll call them,
Mhm.
the Cove.
Right.
Caballero. We have Caballero School, we have Caballero Road, and we have Caballero Park already. And actually, the formal name, I think, of Caballero is Caballero Hill Community Park is the Caballero Skate Park. So I think that there may be some confusion.
Fusion, yeah.
Yeah, just as a,
Unless
just a
you put-
bit of info.
Close.
Unless you put some in front of it, like, Trailhead Park at Cavallaro or,
I like Westview or Westlake Park and Trailhead. I think of Westlake Stevens, because we just like in the Frontier Village area is considered Westlake Stevens. But yeah, I think it's really common to think of Seattle and think of Westlake Center.
What does everybody think about Dog Park McBallface?
My favorite one.
Which one is-
I laughed so hard when I saw that. Dog face, Dog Park McBall.
Checking.
Woof, woof.
we can make all the kids
Do-
happy and call it Taylor Swift Park.
Do we want to say something about it being a dog park? Since it's, do we,
I think that'll have its own name, in my opinion. Like we have Caballero Dog Park, but it's the Caballero Hill Park and it's inside.
I
I think
like,
it'll be the same with the.
I think people
baseball
will
field
start
and-
calling it the dog park. Is that what you're thinking?
I like rec center or complex, because when you say that, it encompasses more than one thing.
Yeah.
But I think of a complex, like you're going to have structures.
Yeah,
And I don't
Yeah, I
think
do
that the
too.
structures tended here.
Like-
Yeah.
like-
Well, then recreation center, recreation area. Because if the trails goes down to there, you got the bicycling, you got the dog park, you got the, softball or baseball fields, whatever fields. So,
I just want to check in online with Colton. You've been on mute and I wanted to make sure that you have the opportunity to participate in the discussion if you have opinions on this as well. Do you want to unmute?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I've been kind of listening to everybody and taking in all the, the background, especially from some of the folks who've been in Lake Stevens a lot longer than I have. And, I am at a total loss as to what recommendations or what name I would, prefer. I mean, obviously, Dog Park McBallface probably isn't the first choice, but I'm really at kind of I'm stuck. I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the other members' ideas.
Do you have it narrowed down to a couple?
No, not even close. I could probably write down my favorite three. I'll write down my favorite three and I will get back to you in a couple minutes, but it's been a tough decision. I've been mostly just kind of listening to everybody and taking it in, but I do have at least probably about five, whittled down to about five.
Yeah, thanks, Colton. What do you guys think about like Electric Park, Powerline Park, Live Wire Park? I think those are ones that would like make a specific, it's a power line area up there.
I'm not a fan of those ones, I would say.
Yeah.
Just my-
If I was a tourist, that wouldn't be attracted to that.
no.
Yeah, I would not want to go to the power line park.
No,
Mm,
Come hear the buzz of the power lines.
but it is very descriptive. I mean, so it has its benefit that way, but from a marketing standpoint, what you visualize with that is maybe not everything we want.
Sparky won't work either.
Seems like some idea of the Westview or not necessarily West Lake, but like Westview Park and something. Seems to make a lot
I
of
like those two.
sense.
Those are my two thoughts as well.
And
Westlake.
yeah, and though it may not be immediately like, oh, I know exactly what that is, I feel like there's so much influx of people coming and there's so much growth. It's like, maybe a lot of people won't know where that is and that's okay. And we can educate them on it when it's over here and then it just becomes
Yeah.
the new normal.
I like the idea of designating things like West Lake, South Lake, East Lake, North Lake, we have North Lake.
Those are just schools. So.
Schools. things
Yeah.
like that. We don't-
but it doesn't help me. No kidding, really, when we say in the North Lake, I can't picture it. I can't picture in my head, oh, West Lake means it's down over
That's
here.
downtown area. like where
I
we're at.
can't figure that out. So if, I'm not saying that just because I can't figure out, other people can't figure it out.
I was
But-
curious, does everybody kind of have maybe a top three whittled down?
I do.
I do.
Do you want me to be the scribe and you guys can rattle off your top three? Colton, do you want to go first or are you still taking some time?
I'm still taking some time. I got a top four, but yeah, I think I can, by the time it comes around to me, I can make a decision.
Sounds great. Tina, you said you had your three?
Yes, I have Westview Park and Trailhead. And I also have, is it Mitchell? Is that who we said?
Mhm.
Mitchell Park? Even though that's still naming it after someone, so maybe not. And Trestle Park would work too.
Roger, did you have three?
You can come back to me, still thinking.
Brian?
I like, my first one was West Lake, second one was Westview, and my third one was Caballero Bayview Park.
Last one was
Caballero Bayview.
maybe,
Park.
okay. I was like looking to see.
Yeah, 'cause they do connect.
And to clarify, Cavallero with a V or Caballero with a B as in boy?
The-
V, okay.
Yeah, Caballero, I think it's like a horseman.
It's short for cowboy.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I don't know if it was a mistake, but I did look it up just in case and that's what I found as well.
oh,
So Dawn,
I have two right now. I'm working on a third.
no worries. Carl
Harshman,
Harshman. And
is one. And Lake Stevens Park. Kind of plain sounding, but it would catch on, I think. And Vikings Community would be a good choice.
I like that.
believe.
too.
Susan?
My number one is Westview Park and Trailhead. And then my number two could be a variation of that, you know, because we had I think the West Lake is the other, probably number two on that one. And third choice would be the John Spencer Recreational Park.
oh, we can go there?
What's that?
We can.
I
go-
know, so we could layer that underneath, right? As we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I would have said the John Spencer Park too, but I thought we were just trying
Right.
to,
I'll retract that statement and I'll have those two.
okay.
And then we'll save that for taking under.
Colton, did you have yours whittled down yet?
Yeah, I was stuck. I think I really liked Pilchuck, but I think Westview is really my number one. Westview Park and Trailhead is my number one. I also like the Caballero Bayview Park or Caballero Park and Trailhead were my other two.
Okay. And then Roger?
Yeah, I kind of like Cavallero Bayview Park, but maybe it's put the Bayview in front of the Cavallero, so you got the B in front of the C. And then it kind of cuts away from just calling it Cavallero, or it won't confuse people. And then I also like Cavallero Park and Trailhead, or Cavallero Trailhead and Park.
I feel like if we called it Caballero Bayview Park, everyone would call it Bayview Park. Most like, kind of like what we call the skate park, but it designates that it is in Caballero at the same time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like officially.
Yeah,
I like that. That's my number one pick. And then I like Mitchell Park just because of his historic value to the city.
Okay. So it looks like the Caballero Bayview or Bayview Caballero. And the West View. Yeah, right now it looks like Westview is 1, 2, 3, 4. Is 4, and West Lake is 1, 2, 3, 3. And then you have Caballero, the variation of the Caballero is also up there.
The Bayview one.
Yeah, I like
Correct.
that Bayview.
I
Caballero.
like,
Well, the Bayview Park, it'd also be obvious that it's, oh, there's the trail, that's the one. with
Part of the trail, yeah, and they know that they can start from there if they wanted to.
Is there
But
a
I think it's
Bayview Park in
confusing, you can't
Marysville?
see the bay.
What's that?
I just think it's confusing, you can't see the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's nothing we can do about that one.
Oh.
That's a city thing.
I'm just wondering, like, if, is there a Bayview
That's
Park in
true.
Marysville that's already on that same trailhead or trail system? If that
There
was the case,
is, there's a Bayview State Park, but there is not an official Bayview Park in Marysville other than the trail name.
Oh,
but I think Susan makes a good point. If I was new here and you told me it was at Bayview Park and there was no view of the bay, I would say, why'd they call it that?
Yeah.
I do
You have to
practice my
walk up-
chairs.
What's that,
I agree. I'd like to change my first one to, sorry, the Caballero Park and Trailhead.
what's that? That stone circular thing called? that was-
the Labyrinth
The Labyrinth. If you go up the Labyrinth, you can see the bay. in
That's
in Frontier
Frontier.
Heights.
Frontier
Frontier.
Heights.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you would actually see the bay from there, right? From this park.
That's correct.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be confusing.
Strike that.
Yeah, I don't know if we
My-
can strike,
my-
it, but I would vote for it.
my only concern is too many Caballeros. I really understand giving it the Caballero name so that people know what part of town it's in, because that makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm also cognizant of that would be a lot of Caballero. If would Caballero Park and Trailhead be confused with Caballero?
I would, yeah. Which Caballero Park?
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, but there's no trail at the.
So then
one.
if you have
What about
West-
Westview Park and Trailhead?
So then it's Westview Park at the Bayview Trail, Westview Park. At the Bayview Trail.
But you would have that like
Bayview
in
Trailhead at West
Arlington.
Lake, at Westview Park.
How much wood would a wood chip chop?
Yes, a lot of views.
Yeah.
You have places though where the Centennial Trail is coming through into different areas. I don't know what the one in Arlington is called. But everybody still knows they're either on the Centennial Trail. Or they're at the park in Arlington. It's not like you're muscle confusion. Where we
Yeah.
are.
So you don't need to spell that part out, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
We're gonna know that there's a trailhead at this park. It'll
But,
be
you
park
know,
and trail.
If the city, made a deal with Marysville. And I think that you're correct when you say they want a continual name through, even if you don't see the bay. I mean, there's other things, Beach Drive and there's no beach, it's like you can't even see the water. But it's just the purpose of, oh, that goes all the way to Marysville and connects to Centennial Trail.
And for the trail name, I think we all agreed on that, right? The Bayview Trail. Bayview Trail it'll be a Bayview Trailhead at whatever the park name is.
I have another, if we're gonna use John Spencer, I'd use it for a trailhead or a trail. Cause he's a hiker
That's
or
true.
has hiked a lot.
Mhm.
So like maybe we do like an honorary on the West Lake Stephen or the Is it the west,
The
South Lake Stevens?
When
Sounds
we,
like-
when we
Or
build
the
some more
John
trails,
Spencer
yeah.
Memorial. John Spencer. Yeah. Okay, so I think right now we're at Westview, Westlake, Cavallaro Bayview, and we had Viking Park as well.
Which one?
Viking Park,
Oh, Viking.
that would, I think, tie into the Scandinavian heritage and our, our high school mascot.
Yep.
I like that.
But if we did do, Bayview Park and not Trailhead, Bayview Park, people who know that Bayview Trail is a trailhead, people would probably go, oh, and there's a Bayview Park. Let's go to the park too while we're on our Bayview Trail.
You could just call it Bayview Park and Trailhead.
But it's not supposed to be a terminus there, though, is it? I think it'll continue on as the goal.
But Bayview will end there, and then Westlake Stevens would
There'd be-
Oh,
like
gotcha,
Stevens
gotcha.
Trail.
be, it would be the
point.
terminus of the Bayview Trail, right?
At this time.
At this time.
Oh, so it really depends on how we end up tying the trail in to existing connections like to the South Lake Stevens Trail.
What's the vision?
According to the Trail Master Plan, it would, I believe it would continue east along 20th and then join up with the South Lake Stevens Trail.
Oh, that's what you said, yeah.
Well,
When we investigate those areas and we look for those connections, if another one pops up, that ends up being a better fit, then
But would there be another park that would be there? Probably not. Probably wouldn't go through another park.
so there will be trailheads. We have another trailhead at 12th Street already scheduled to be constructed at the same time that this park will be constructed.
And there'll be another Bayview Park trailhead. Or
Yeah.
Bayview Trailhead,
I would,
just like multiple Centennial Trails. So we have like Centennial Trailhead at Machias, we have the 16th Street Trailhead for Centennial.
right. So if you named the trail a name, then you would say, I'll meet you at the trailhead at whatever the name of the park is.
Got it.
So it almost sounds like you need to put a park name with the Bayview in there. Because if there's 3 or 4 connections, well, I'll meet you at the Bayview connection. It's like, well, which one?
I think that we don't need to put the Bayview Trailhead in the park name, because we can just say, there's gonna be a trailhead there, just like we have it 16th or Machias or wherever.
Mhm. Right.
Generally, if you named it whatever the name is, so say you go with Westlake Hub, or it would be Westlake Hub and Trailhead. So the name Trailhead would be in the name of it. And then that trail would be known as the Bayview Trail.
I guess it depends a lot on how much the city wants to promote that Bayview name. Because
At this time-
if they don't care, if they really wanted to make it, like a Centennial Trail, so everyone knows it. That's why they wanted to make a continual trail, so. You gotta put the name in there if you're gonna put it a trailhead, a start of one, you've gotta put it on there. Or people are gonna go, well, how do I get there?
The Bayview Trail is the trail itself is the only one
Right.
that we would be suggesting the name of Bayview.
And how many
Um,
miles is that gonna be? That's
I
like
think
12
it's
miles?
4.
or 4.
Well, our section, and
Oh.
then once it meets Marysville, I'd have to do the math on it.
Well, it's just, I guess if you really want to hammer home this Bayview like Centennial, so people know, I'll be on the Bayview Trail. Okay, that's a cool place. Like people go now, I'm gonna go to the Centennial Trail, so everyone knows where it is, so.
Yeah, and the Bayview Trail would have wayfinding, so you would be very aware of the name of the trail that you're on when you're on it. So in the very, very beginning, sure, there's not going to be as much name recognition,
Right.
but it will become its own name.
But will it be the only trail head to the Bayview?
No,
Okay, so that's where it comes, that's the problem.
right. So the trail itself will be, maybe think about it as being a separate facility,
Mhm.
and it will traverse through different areas.
Mm.
Like just a park.
Frontier Heights is going to be a trailhead. 12th Street's going to be a trailhead.
Okay.
You're already looking at trailheads through, you
So
know.
if
at
we
better
say Bayview
connections.
Trailhead, we just cause confusion because
Right.
there's multiple Bayview trailheads.
Yeah, that's possible.
Got it.
But that's the end of the trail too, though. And people like to start at
Correct.
the end.
Correct.
Current, yeah. I mean, if you could ride the Centennial Trail, you're gonna either, most people will start in Snohomish because they know that's the end of the trail. And then they'll go, you know, this way.
Kind of like Westlake Hub.
I prefer West View Hub.
Westview Hub.
At Westlake, I don't know, I just spent too much time in Seattle and I just doesn't,
Westview
But we're in
Hub.
Lake Stevens, we gotta take that name back.
we never had it.
This is hard.
Well, Westview, not that I have any agendas here, Westview does separate itself from Seattle.
Yes, it does.
Right,
I'll just throw that out as a suggestion.
right, right.
But is there really a view other than 20th Street trees?
It's the hard part.
If it was like, in Cavallaro Park, you can kind of see the Olympics and stuff like that. I would be up for that because I would go to the park and be like, it's the view I'm looking at here, there's like power lines and and trees.
Good point.
So does it bring Vikings back up to the forefront of things?
No.
potentially?
The only thing I thought of when I saw the Vikings, because of course we're all really supportive of our high school team, but at some point we're gonna have a second high school and it's gonna be right around the corner from this park.
No, that's right.
So
That could be
Then you have
awkward.
to get another park.
You are correct.
Be on our side.
Oh, man, they got.
I don't want to rain on anyone's parade.
So just
We
call
were
it
so
Lake-
close.
Lake Stevens School Park, and then when they build the other one, put schools.
Right, right, Lake Stevens High School Support Park. Sorry, I didn't want to ruin it, but
So I take that off of my number 3.
Yes, with that new information.
I can trust that one.
so I will say, just to, for what it's worth, when we did our beautification plan, we did have those 4 quadrants of the city. And they are East Lake Stevens, West Lake Stevens, South Lake Stevens, and Old Town. So, if that helps you at all.
About Westlake Stevens Park.
And
And that goes with what the beautification plan
Mhm.
does, right?
We could call it Newtown.
Did you go with
Old
that?
Town. yeah.
Did you go
There
with
you
that,
go.
Roger?
What?
Westlake. Did you go with Westlake since it's part of the
Did you say
beautiful?
Westlake?
Westlake Stevens.
Yeah,
Westlake Stevens.
I-
Westlake
Yes,
Stevens.
Westlake Stevens.
Or you could do
Exactly.
West Side. Wasn't West Side? One is the other one we were talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah, West Side.
Sounds.
I like that better than West View because at least.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
agree.
You know, hey, it's on the west,
Yeah.
or you could call it, yeah, West Side Park, Westlake Stevens Park, because then you got, you know exactly where it's at, like topographically.
Unless you're
It's in
Tina,
Stevens.
then she may.
Unless
not.
you're Tina,
Yes.
exactly, and then
My sister.
we're in
Now, you
trouble.
live over there too, don't you?
That's why I have GPS.
Yeah.
I like that. Susan, I like West
Side.
West Side Park.
Or Spencer Park. I'm still good with that one too.
I know.
Well, like I said, with people's names, you can, you know, add on to the
Mhm.
park.
So is it too late to add, like, if we wanted to add Westlake Stevens Park
Oh, you can deliberate and
or West Side Park? You guys want to add those in as potential names?
No, we
I
just-
vote West Lake Stevens Park. I like that. I think, you know, it sounds better than West Side Park because West Side Park seems too generic and too city focused, I think.
Well, would you spell West Lake like West Lake Stevens or just West Lake Stevens? I like the West
Lake.
Lake Stevens.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, because then it doesn't
Sure.
sound like West Lake anymore. 'Cause you broke it up.
Yeah, Westlake Stevens Park.
Mhm.
That feels
I would-
generic though now. I don't. have
Yeah,
a Visual.
yeah,
It does seem,
Kind of like we're just looking at a map and it's north, south, east, west.
yeah.
It's like it doesn't have a feel to it.
Well,
Westlake.
what's your feel?
One thing I do want to point out, I know it's just outside of city limits, but eventually the city will likely take over management of Lake Stevens Community Park,
Oh,
which is the one with the
Oh.
fields on this side. So I just wanted to voice that.
yeah. There's already a Lake
So it's out there.
Stevens, yeah. Ah.
So
There's
will
room
we
for
have a chance to
investigation.
rename that one to the North
Yeah.
Lake Stevens Park?
Number 2, West Lakes.
No, that one's north. Or would it, that would be East Lakes. I guess that would be East Lakes.
Okay, I'm back to Spencer Park.
Well, I didn't know you could dash around that many names for so long.
What's that?
Well,
Well, if you can't, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that I didn't know that it would take this long to mix and match these names and, do you want a historic, you want a person, you want just a name?
Yeah, I mean, we did have a great turnout for
Yeah.
for the suggestions.
Yeah.
What if we can't do Bayview and we can't do West? What if we did Best View Park?
What view?
Best View Park, just mash them.
Best, BEST?
Yeah, it was being silly, but actually, I don't know if I'm not. It might work. I don't know. This is a tough one.
Would you like Jill to read off all of the names that she has written on her piece of paper to see if you want to eliminate any off that
Yeah.
list?
Yes.
Because if you hear it, it sounds.
Yeah. Let's eliminate some names.
So I did hear that we have Caballero Bayview and Bayview Caballero. I did remove those just based on your conversation, but okay. Westview Park and Trailhead, Trestle, Westlake, Westview, Harshman,
What was the second one you said? I'm sorry.
Trestle,
No, the one before that.
Westview Park and Trailhead,
Westview, okay.
Westview Park and Trailhead, Trestle, Westlake Park, Westview Park, Caballero, Harshman, Lake Stevens Park, Vikings Park, Westview Park and Trailhead. Oh, that's the same. Westlake, John Spencer Recreation, Pilchuck, Westview Park, Westlake Stevens Park.
I think we should strike Pilchuck because you can't see Pilchuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pilchuck and Viking, I would say.
We should strike that. as
Yep.
well.
I agree.
So you're down to Westview Park and Trailhead, Westlake, Trestle,
I want to remove, so.
I vote. for
Trestle, I agree.
okay?
Get out of there.
So then we have Westview Park and Trailhead, Westlake. I think it's Westlake Park and Trailhead, but I'm not sure. Westview, Harshman, and then
I think
Westview,
We
Westlake.
agree that we didn't like Westlake by itself and that was.
Right.
Too generic.
And Westlake.
I don't think
What if-
it's generic.
What if we did,
Westlake?
I
or
like it. I
even.
like it.
We,
West Lake, not Westlake, but West Lake.
Westlake Park, yeah.
well,
So
what
3
if,
separate words.
2 separate words?
Yes.
You know,
Lake Park.
Yeah.
there is a lot of activities going on there. You have a dog park, ball fields, playground, trailhead. You could say like West Lake,
Something.
come up with like
Recreation.
hub or complex
I like
or
that. I like West Lake.
I like
Westlake,
that
one
too.
word.
Westlake Recreation Area or something.
You're saying it's
Westlake Recreation.
Call it Westlake Ball Field, Westlake Dog Park, Westlake, the Bayview Trail at Westlake,
So like Westlake Recreational Center.
Westlake
or
Recreation Center.
recreational
But center
park.
makes
It's not
me
really a
think
center.
it's a building.
Yeah,
So I will
Westlake.
say,
Westlake Recreational Hub, or we have Westlake Hub, but we just split the.
It's just recreational area.
Hub.
so I will say that when we went through the exercise with the beautification plan, the west side of the lake is the last part of the lake that was the large chunk of it that was annexed. We've had some obviously in the east, but we had tried to tie them to the lake, to the city.
Uh-huh.
And because they had been Everett forever. So they had an Everett zip code, Everett mailing address. And so when we annexed them and then we did the beautification, it was like, let's bring them into the fold. So it really is consistent with that if you decided to say Westlake, because it ties it, they're not East Everett anymore, because it used to be called East Everett.
Yeah.
Now they are Westlake.
Ah, okay.
I like that too. And you know, in Forest Service and other places, they like to be kind of generic when they talk about recreational sites. So I think even if we did Westlake recreational site or something like that, I think there's a better word for it that we could
Recreational
use.
hub.
Recreational hub, yeah.
Hub sounds like a bus thing.
How about?
Yeah.
Westlake?
It does. I agree. It sounds too, it doesn't sound like outdoor recreation to me.
Well, what about Westlake,
Recreational Hub.
Westlake Recreational Park?
Yeah. Westlake Recreational Park.
Yes.
I like,
Westlake Lake Park. There's multiple.
I got what I
like-
want and you got what you want.
Yeah, I like Westlake Park because then you can just say Westlake Ball Fields, Westlake.
Yeah.
Uh.
You can say it either way and
Yeah.
people know.
Plus it's a
and
mouthful
officially,
about Westlake
officially,
Recreation
It is a
Center.
mouth, yeah.
Like you talk, where are you gonna pick up the kids? Westlake Park Recreation
I like-
Center.
I
Are
just
you
like
gonna say
saying-
Westlake?
Yeah, like I would say, I'm gonna go get the kids in North Cove.
Yeah.
Meet you in North Cove.
Yeah.
Oh, meet you at Sunset Beach. You know, something quick and easier. You know, meet you at Westlake Park or Westlake Ball Fields.
I agree, actually. I think,
Okay,
I
so-
think
You want, I'm sorry, Colton, did you say Westlake Park?
Westlake Park.
And then a tagline after it, maybe recreational center or hub or.
I think.
I don't even think
the
a
official name
tag.
is Westlake Park, then we would just say, oh yeah, it's the Westlake Ball Fields, Westlake Dog Park. But, and park is just always gonna be
Yeah.
assumed, right? That's the official name, like Cavallaro Hill Park, but no one
Right.
says Cavallaro Hill Park, they say Cav, let's go meet you at the Cav Park.
And when you say recreational, you think that's a huge,
Mm-hmm.
piece of
Big
property.
facilities.
Yeah, got ball
Mhm,
fields and
mhm.
bike
Recreational
trails and.
facilities, well,
Yeah.
Carl, what do you
But-
think about Westlake?
Perfect.
So. Can I get a motion to take forward West Lake Park as the park board's official nomination to take forward to city council?
I move that we name the 20th Ball Fields, formerly known as the 20th Ball Field Park, to Westlake Park.
A second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes.
Yay, we named a park.
And then you'll want to close the public hearing.
And the public hearing is now closed.
One clarification, did we decide Westlake was one word,
two.
Words.
two separate
Two
words?
separate words.
Thank you for the clarification.
West Lake, so we're referring to the, Lake
Yeah,
Stevens.
it goes both ways because people go Westlake Park, but when they drive up, they'll see West Lake. So
Yeah.
it's kind of,
It's just like when we say, oh, South Lake Pizza, South Lake.
yeah.
The city complex is in South Lake. North Lake is right here. I love it. Great job, council. Park board.
We'll get that recommendation together and over to city council for formal adoption.
So we closed the public portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion to close the hearing?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the hearing is closed.
You have to open up the park board meeting.
Yeah, so I think we just go back to the park board. So board action by motion. Yes, we already did that. Next on the agenda. Review the 30% design for Eagle Ridge Park.
Yes, so staff has received the 30% submittal for Eagle Ridge Park from the consultants. We have the plans. I have blown them up and they are on the table over here. If anyone wants to look at them when I'm done with my staff report, or Colton, it's in your packet. So we received the submittal. I gave a brief history of it in your in your park board packet, but this park was purchased beginning in 1996. And I think the last parcels were purchased in 2010. So the park has been in phase 1 construction where we completed the community gardens, and now it's time to move on to complete the master plan. So on the plans that came in and staff met, went over the plans. So what the consultant does is they take the master plan, they take the contract limits, the staff input, and they come up with the first iteration of plans. So this is the very first iteration. So staff sat down and looked at the plans, and there are a couple things that we know off the bat we'll have to change. So we worked through some of that. Some of it's based on utilities that's already in the ground, and then also with the amphitheater, we have theater and musical events, and they have requested, the performers have requested, they love Eagle Ridge because there's no playground, but we know that the overall idea up there is to have a playground, but we're looking to give them more separation. So under the consultant's plans, they had them just adjacent to each other. So we think it would be kind of a conflict because we know that kids are going to want to play on it and they're going to want to be hooting and hollering. So right next to the amphitheater will not work for that.
Yeah.
As a response to some of the public comment that we received at that first open house, the senior center wanted an expanded, larger picnic structure. So we have done that. We located the restrooms close to the drive aisle so that they could be serviced easier. So you'll see those reflected on the plans. Let's see. Yeah, I already went over that. And then the location of the playground too, as shown on the plans, is really over to the side. And it's really kind of buried deep in the park. So from a SEPTED perspective of crime prevention through environmental design, is we would like to have it a little easier for a police officer in a car to be able to just make a round through there and be able to have eyes on it. So we are proposing moving the structure, the playground structure that's shown in the lower portion of the screen there. And we would be moving it to the just north of the parking lot there. So
You got a pointer so you can.
I really wish I did, but I'll be happy to point here.
Okay.
So we would be moving the playground here to over here,
Oh,
Oh, that's a good idea.
that's great.
and then moving the amphitheater.
Yeah,
That's way
yeah.
better.
So that's just off the top. That was what staff took a look at. There was a couple little other minor things that that we just saw from a maintenance perspective that might need to be shifted. But we want to get your feedback and information. We want to present them to you because we just got them and we're excited to see that project moving along. And let me just make sure that I didn't forget anything on here. I think we're good. So with that, I will answer any questions. I do want to kind of just briefly go through the plan set. Yeah, thanks, sir. So the major, just down, I think it's page 5 and 6. Up to the top. I'm sorry. I can do it here. Yes, this is good. So this is the senior center right here.
Mm-hmm,
Excuse me, this is the senior center right here. This is their parking right here.
mm-hmm.
Get oriented, Jill. And this would be the drive aisle that would come in and out. We did receive some input that these trees here that are shown in the circle want to be preserved. That's that large stand of mature trees that's right by the senior center's driveway. So this sidewalk will be meandered to where we will be able to protect and retain those trees. As it's shown right now, it shows that I think clipping one of them. So that was one of our comments back to them is we need to protect the stand of trees. So then they'll have ADA parking here. This is a stormwater feature here. So it's going to be like a swale with grasses and water loving plants. Our favorite tree here, I think, is staying. The tree over here, it's both of these are proposed to stay. As well as everything downhill from the slope. That's not going to be touched.
What's the dark rectangular area?
Up.
This right here,
No,
Oh,
down.
you're right,
Right
right
there.
there.
this is the picnic shelter.
Okay, and this is what is being expanded?
Correct. So this is a larger picnic shelter than you would typically see in our park, and then it will have barbecues for the senior
So is
center.
it gonna be like can you rent it is for two people or one, or,
It's one large picnic
so
shelter.
that's all there's gonna have for a picnic table in the park is just one?
No, that's the picnic shelter. There will be benches and tables.
Would it make sense to move that closer to the senior center? Is that possible?
Well, it's not just for the senior center, obviously, so. it
No,
can be used
I
for the
know.
park. You know, we heard
Right.
that feedback from the senior center.
Right.
But right here is really easy because there will be parking, so they'll be able to get your stuff to.
Oh,
Didn't we
Yeah,
move that a
that's
little bit
good.
too? I'll have to look at the red
Even the
lines.
seniors would want to have to go.
Yes,
across
I
the
understand.
All their stuff.
I believe that by positioning the amphitheater where the playground is proposed currently, taking the playground across the parking lot into its own protected area and away from the amphitheater, that we also took the shelter and moved it in a little bit different orientation so that it could be better used to view the amphitheater.
yeah.
And so it does have a slight movement to it as well. The restrooms were kept in the same spot. The parking was kept in the same spot. We had slight variations of the trail to accommodate the position of the amphitheater changing. But the idea was to really use that lawn area to fill it up with people who may be viewing the amphitheater.
So without the kids' play area in that area, the lawn and seating area will be expanded.
Mhm.
And then we're just gonna move the picnic shelter slightly up so that it has a better view and is also closer and more accessible. Is that a pathway next to the
Yeah, this is
parking?
the pathway to this parking
Okay,
and then up and then
and then
around.
there's parking right there as well, right? Is that only for senior center though?
This area is already existing parking,
But
this new parking would be.
Okay, and the parking center, the parking that's in front of the senior center, is that only for senior center people?
It's a shared use
Shared use.
parking.
Okay, so anyone could park in any of these parking spots and have close access to that picnic shelter. And
Correct.
carry all their stuff.
So where's the trailhead?
The trailhead is right here. So that's where it enters.
Are they expanding the trails or
In this scope, no, this is just the upland portion.
Is that the original trailhead there? I thought it
Yep.
was down farther.
Nope.
Maybe it's because they got all those parking spaces there.
yeah. no, that's
Right, the parking will be put in here where this was just like a
Okay,
gravel kind of rural area right now, but no, we're not moving that at all.
In the new place where the playground will be, and there's restrooms up there and all that for that area.
Restrooms are right here. So it will be, I mean, from here to there is,
Are there getting
50 feet.
restrooms closer to the playground?
Yeah, that's what-
well, they're right here,
So those are the only restrooms in the park.
correct, yeah. And we tried to kind of.
So kids are gonna have to
split the difference
cross,
Between the two,
the kids will have to cross the street up,
parking.
go to the
the
restaurant.
parking lot, yeah. And we don't have any sewer there. So these are, they're flushing restrooms, but they're recirculated water and they're pumped. So when you go in, it'll look like,
Could there be like a
The I,
porta potty like we have at Sunset Beach with the kids over there?
it's, oh, you mean by the
The
playground?
so that the
Yes,
kids
yeah,
don't have to
closer
cross the
park, yeah.
park and get in the way of cars.
I think you're looking at a distance of only 100 or 150 feet. So to try to think about not inundating the ground and keeping it as natural as possible, we're trying to keep it only to one restroom. It also cuts down on the costs as our costs continue to go up as time goes on. The recirculating flushing restroom that Joe was just referring to, it's an interesting concept. When sewer does move down the main road, we can then tie it into sewer so that we don't have to build a vault now to then destroy it and build a flushing restroom down the road.
Yeah, I was just thinking of in terms of like safety for kids not having to go through parking lots or be in, danger of cars.
Do the restrooms have a changing table? Like, can diapers be changed there? Are they, I'm trying to imagine how big they are, like,
Think of like North Cove restaurant.
okay.
So there's two separate, and I can't remember if we're doing two separate banks or if there's. Or I don't think they are. I actually went to pull them to look at it and I didn't see it.
can I say something, Joe?
Sure.
Can you go back, Sarah, to that page you're just on?
Yes, there was some, you see
Okay.
if there's a layout of the restroom really quick to answer
Go
the
ahead.
last question, if there's not. We will have those in the next.
Yeah, this is the very basic.
Right.
Yeah, moving the puzzle pieces around kind of a thing.
Okay, so my suggestion, I mean, it really doesn't matter because I like the idea you have there, but why not put the park still on this side, but in that corner? So it's, same distance to the bathrooms and not, because in that way, I don't know, I've been to a lot of places where the kids have a great time at, concerts and stuff. And you're kind of alienated by pushing across the street.
Yeah, we don't want to alienate anyone at the park, but we do need to have separation.
Right,
So,
well, but I mean, if you put it up in that corner of the park, then,
right,
no, down, right in there, yeah, right there. You're,
that's this.
oh, okay, that takes
So I
that.
think the key is to not have kids screaming and yelling and with joy.
I know, but I've been to so,
We
I've,
definitely want kids yelling and screaming with joy.
but I mean, I've been in so many bars like
Just
Becky's.
not
And you
interrupting.
go in there and there's families in there with kids and they just run around and have a great time and the musicians don't care, they're just,
And we do.
they get paid.
No, we definitely want children at the performances for sure. And we do even a children's theater, it's in the theater series as well.
Mhm.
That's not it at all. We want the kids, but we just want them to say, okay, we're gonna come over here and watch the show now, and then the performers can.
I like what you did there, but I
Yeah.
just thought maybe bring them a little closer and so they can run around and, have fun and listen to music and.
Like, how far away is it?
Well, so a parking space is 20 feet. So if you take
That's pretty
20
close.
20 feet. It would be 60 feet from the surround. So if we move, if you have someone watching the shows here and at the picnic shelter, they'll need to have restroom access.
Yeah.
And then if you have another one, a few feet away on the other side, then, we would have two restrooms, just really, really close to each other. And the cost of the restrooms is around $300,000. So, there's not to say that there isn't other options like what you're stating.
Well, I just, when you see, the kids love, like when they used to have the concerts out here. The kids are dancing in front of the stage and having a great time.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We
Yeah.
want to see. And if the kids, they're interacting with it's a bigger deal when you're having like a theater or a
Right.
outdoor classroom situation where, you're busing in kids to come and learn.
That's a-
and they're gonna be drawn, if there's a
Right.
separation, then it's like, nope, we're in this section of it. We're gonna listen. We're gonna be part of the outdoor.
Cause that's a big section between that stage and that parking lot. I mean, that's a good walk.
That's huge.
When you move the amphitheater down, will you be able to provide more seating in the, to tier it?
So at this point, we're looking at different seating options, but more than likely it's gonna be just kind of like a banked grass.
Oh,
bring
it's
your own.
not going to
There'll be ADA
be,
space.
it's not going to be tiered.
Correct.
Okay.
By positioning it, you can see the elevation lines on the map and how it tiers out. It does give optimal viewing for the rest of the green grass, however, so although it's not permanent seating that we're adding, we are adjusting it to give ample viewing area.
Got it.
And then here it's gonna be, there's ADA access for for anybody, to come in and watch it on flat level ground too.
Okay.
So we won't have it all.
That sidewalks go all the way around.
Yeah, it's a looped walking path. And then if you go to the one before this, that shows the north and the park. Yeah, so this is where it kind of ties in. So this line matches up with this line. This is the community gardens here.
Okay.
And then here is we're gonna add a couple spaces of parking here just to maximize the parking. Plus this is kind of a dead zone right here. This is the existing full building here. It's gonna stay. So we have two ADA stalls that would access the community garden and then formalize, this parking area here. And then here, down here, these are bus parking. So that we can do the outdoor classroom or shuttle service if we end up having an event that would call for that.
When the senior centers open, will people who are utilizing this space be able to use those restrooms or will they be shuttled away?
Right, so the
One
park,
existing.
yeah, the park traffic would use the park. And then the senior center is its own entity under a lease type arrangement. So they have their own janitorial care, so they'll have it for just their patrons.
Carl and I could use that restroom.
I do want to note that the senior center has been great in opening their facilities for restrooms when we do host like theater in the park. They've been fantastic about allowing that service.
It's great.
What is in the section adjacent to the parking?
Right
there.
here?
Yeah,
This is the rain garden
oh, it's a rain
for the
garden.
drainage, yeah.
Oh, that's. where
That's
it says-
existing.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then right above that, across the
Oh,
path.
yes. Right
there.
there's the rain garden, I apologize. This is the rain garden. Right here, this is just trees.
Trees.
Yeah, they're pretty mature. They're the larger. They're not old, they're second growth, but they're pretty big.
And where's the street in relationship to the playground? Where's the street?
Right there.
Sober Hill Road is out here. So there's a
And-
parcel between the playground and Sober.
And can you see the playground from there?
You wouldn't be able to see it from there. You'd be able to see it when you pulled in. Like from police rounds, they pull through like they do it.
They'd
for
go
an evening.
there, okay.
Yeah.
So Jill, I know we're not talking about really elements of the playground at this point, but just from a spatial standpoint, what kind of size would that feel like? You know, like at Lundin, you know, you've got a certain kind of footprint, or up here, you've got a footprint.
So what we're looking at right now, that's a great question, because right now, as it's proposed in this section of it down here in the south part, it's 2,000 square feet. And if we moved it up, we would have more room for it. It would be a little more flexible in its space. Right now, it's just this section here and then here, and you can see that it's a larger. One of the ideas at Eagle Ridge and some of the initial feedback for the playground was that it would be a natural feel playground. So we know we'll have to do ADA compliant footing, you know, and so we're proposing to do a poured in place or a tile rubberized type of fall protection. But we have a little bit more, you know, there's trees already there, so we could do something that incorporated, you know, the natural environment.
Oh, no, I was thinking like some kind of a climbing wall.
Yeah.
Kind of cool in there, given the setting.
Can you compare that to the size of the North Lake Park?
North Cove Park,
Cove.
I would hate to be wrong on that, but I would say that North Cove would be a touch smaller in the space that we would have at Eagle Ridge.
So moving up and having more of an expanded space, would that allow for additional equipment, or would it just allow for things to be spaced out more comfortably?
It would allow additional equipment or different configurations of equipment. So every piece of equipment has a fall zone attached to it. So it's kind of a bit of Jenga to get it to fit in your desired elements. But with this park, what we really want is feedback from kids.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? So we're gonna present at family activities night at Stevens Creek Elementary and bring in the boards and kind of get some feedback from that. And then we're also, the last time that we did an open house, we advertised on Peach Jar for our Bayview open house down here, and that was really successful. So we would like to do that again and really market it to kids, families, and get kids in here and tell us, what do you want to play with? You know, how do you want to interact with your play? Because we think that's really important. But we really didn't want to do that until we knew how big we could.
Right.
You know, you want to set proper expectations, you know, so somebody's not coming in with a ninja course that's 8,000 square feet and, you know, then disappointing. So we wanted to be able to set the expectation of like, this is the amount of space that we have. What would you like to do with it? And just get more feedback.
Have you seen the playground at Stevens Creek Elementary?
I haven't, it's on my list and I'm probably going to go see that very
You
soon, like
need to go
this
see
week.
that.
Yeah. Because we also don't want to duplicate.
No, but you need to see what.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The exact same thing that's, you know, a couple, you know, parcels over, but yeah, we want to.
Playground FOMO watch, they were like, what is this?
That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Brian,
I'm
I-
excited to see it.
Wanted to follow up on the playground sizes. I did a quick aerial measurement on North Cove. North Cove's boundary is about 88 by 75 feet On quick measurement off of what I can see on the engineered plans for Eagle Ridge, we would have somewhere between 40 and 60 foot wide by 80 to 120 length maximum. And one thing to note at North Cove is we have a lot of unused fall areas. And so when you configure a playground differently, you can have more components in a least amount of space, but we'll certainly get into that with that playground design.
God, thank you.
You're welcome.
On that, picnic area, the shelter, is the city gonna run that, or are you gonna hand that over to the, senior center?
No, it would be a city
Okay.
facility. Yeah.
'Cause I know.
Yeah, again, it wasn't that it was built for the senior
Right.
center, but they definitely, we want to get their input, and they were here at our meeting and gave us some really good input. So we're,
Like, they've been there
as
a
we
long
can
time.
incorporate it, yeah, as we can incorporate, needs of the surrounding community, that's, what we try to do.
So do the community gardens, are they still an element of this? Did I miss that?
They're still, they're gonna stay and they're present. Nothing's gonna be touched on that particular parcel, and where they're located is up here.
Okay,
Yeah, so right here, this is where the community garden is. And this is their existing parking and then the gate to go in, and then all the vents are through here.
okay. That was part of
Yeah.
when it had the fencing in that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's gonna stay. That's been a huge success and people really like it.
Did they fill it up again this year?
I thought there was like 3 more spaces or.
I believe last check that we had 7 or 8 openings and it could have very much closed. I haven't checked it in a few
Sure.
weeks.
That's good. then.
But certainly saw an uptick. We do know that a local community garden closed from last year to now, so that's where we picked up a couple of our clients. Wanted to check in online with Colton. Do you have any comments that you want to make?
Not so much. I'm still just trying to I guess get the lay of the land in my head as we move forward. But everything looks great to me. I have no real comments.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the 30% design for Eagle Ridge? All right, next agenda item is parks update.
Right. And if you guys take a look at those plans and have anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, so the parks update, 2 new trees were planted at North Cove Park. They were planted over by the picnic shelter towards the lake.
What kind of trees were they?
One was a willow and the other is a maple. Ooh, that's a great question. We saw them. We saw them before they had leaves on them. So they're both deciduous though. So I can get that info and bring it back to you. The Oak Hill Park Swing was reopened in April.
Yay.
Yay. The native growth protection area at Frontier Heights was mulched and planted. And Float and Chill is the concession over at Lundin Park. They opened up this weekend and did free paddle boards for mothers for just a couple hours. But their official opening is going to be the Memorial Day weekend. And I put the schedule in there for you.
Is this their first year doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be paddle boats, paddle boards. I think they're going to branch out and get some kayaks and some other stuff. So
Very fun.
we're excited. And then the Eagle Ridge has just a few beds available. Our coverage for parks, our crew is going to start doing a 7-day a week. So our parks are getting attention on the weekend.
Oh,
and trash pickup. So they start that May 19th, so next week. Memorial Day, there is a war memorial ceremony, or excuse me, a Memorial Day ceremony at the war memorial. Something like that. I'll get it right one of these times. And then June 1st is going to be our community garage sale. The farmer's market is returning on Wednesdays at North Cove. And June 8th from 11 to 6 is Lake Stevens Pride and on the Lake Festival at Lundin Park. June 23rd is the Lake Stevens Health and Wellness Festival at North Cove. July 4th is the Old Fashioned 4th at North Cove. And then, of course, Aquafest is going to return on the last weekend, the last full weekend of July.
Question on Aquafest.
Mhm.
Are we getting rides?
There's not going to be a carnival at Aquafest this year. Yeah,
Is
they
that
weren't
like,
able.
Because they're just not available, is it? And we weren't able to get on the schedule, or is that something that will return in the future?
I think they're trying.
The large problem with the carnivals is during COVID times. A lot of these companies used to run 2 or 3 different crews and set out across America. During COVID, a lot of them diminished to only 1 crew. And we also had one of the major carnival companies go out of business during that time. They went
Oh.
ahead and retired, I believe. Due to that, there's just limited options, and the carnivals were able to choose the ones that were most lucrative and that have multi-days. Through all of their efforts, the volunteers that make up the Aquafest board have even tried to book 2 and 3 years out. And the response is, we just don't have a big enough area paired with enough days at this time for them to secure us versus the other ones they run. So perhaps in the future, the carnivals will ramp back up with multiple crews and things will change. But for the near future, it does not look like we'll have a carnival in the next 3 years.
Wow.
It's grand without the noise.
We'll have the Skyhawks are going to return and do summer camps in the parks. They do sport camps. They've been a good partner for the city. Thursday nights from 7 to 8, there will be ballroom dances at the mill here. June 22nd, 27th, August and August 17th at 9:30 is free yoga at Lundin Park. That's Saturdays. And then next week on the 20th, a week from today at 3 o'clock, there will be a reception for the murals here in the mill. So you are all encouraged to join for that.
Yeah, my message.
Yeah, I did. So then there's some pictures in there of the work, the mulching and the planting at Frontier Heights Park, and then the swing. And folks using it, which always makes us happy. And that's all I have for you for the parks update.
I can go ahead and verify that the trees that were planted at North Cove were successfully posted on our new City of Lake Stevens Parks and Recreation Facebook page. We also have an Instagram account if you're on either of those. The trees that were planted were a maple tree near the observation deck and a willow tree near the banks that will replace the one that is on its way out.
Like a big leaf maple? Native one, or?
It didn't state what type of maple in the
It's not
post.
going to be a big leaf, just because I think the size of it's
don't
probably
want
not
it to-
appropriate.
And I was gonna say clean up.
Japanese maple or something. I'll go look at it. Where is it?
By the observation deck.
And when does the ballroom dance start?
Ballroom dance starts on Thursday nights from 7 to 8. I think it's starting now, isn't it? Ooh, I'm gonna have to look.
I can look that up and have an answer in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And is the Bayview Trail gonna go through Capitol or Frontier Heights Park?
Yeah.
Be all kinds of parks on that trail.
You need,
That's
Yeah.
gonna be a cool asset for the community.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is this still called the West Side Trail?
You just renamed it
So
the Bayview
originally,
Trail.
originally we were calling it the West Side Trail, right?
Well, it had a bunch of names.
Okay, so that is now the Bayside Trail,
Yes, Bayview,
Bayview.
Bayview Trail.
Right on your hand.
We've done too much naming today.
Too many makings.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Board member reports. Susan?
Sure, it's technically a report, but I had an opportunity to go and do our little site visit for a park. And that was just very easy to do, and just recommend everybody get a chance to get out there and do that.
Carl?
Looking forward to summer?
Don?
Nothing at this time.
I have nothing to report at this time. You know?
the Arts and Park Foundation will be back at the farmers market every other week. We are sharing a table with Rotary. So you come on by, buy a fish.
Roger?
You know, you said we talked a lot about names. What did we finally say? That was it Westlake Stevens?
West Lake Park. 3 words.
Wasn't it Westlake Stevens?
Mm-mm.
I don't like that anymore.
The vote has been.
No. I know, I know.
I know, yeah.
Like naming my child.
Okay, council report. Do we have anyone from the council on? I don't see anybody. Upcoming agenda items.
No attendees online other than Colton.
Oh, sorry, Colton, do you have a board report?
No, just that I hear everybody's getting some good weather. Looking forward to taking advantage of that when I come home. Thanks.
Okay, upcoming agenda items is next on the agenda.
It's usually a time if we have something big that we know that's coming, we can talk about it, or if you are requesting anything on the agenda.
Okay, does the board have any?
I got
upcoming agenda
one
items?
thing. You know, that time that we kind of wanted Marlene to get on the Lake or Eagle Ridge. When should we start thinking about that? I know it's only 30% done, but I mean, do you do that at the very end or before the end, or they're
It's
talking
towards
around?
the end, just because, you know, we'll
Right, there's a lot of stuff.
find a place for it, and you don't want it to be too early and then get
Right.
forgotten. So, yeah, we're looking at a way to get that memorialized.
Do we have a policy on how to do that?
We have a plaque and memorial policy.
That's what I thought.
But a dedication is a little bit different.
Okay.
So, and that does remind me, I did talk with the county, because I went out and couldn't find the plaque at Cavallaro. And so the person that was installing it left. And so the other person had it sitting in their office. And so they're going to be putting it out. So it'll be very soon.
The
So I
Cavallaro
did
one?
say, yeah, let us know when you get it, because I've seen the proofs of it. And they said they sure will. So,
That was like almost, well, at least 3 years ago when
Yeah,
that flag was
Years.
done.
Yeah.
I kept wondering where it was because I kept looking for it and I never
Yes.
saw it.
yes. Well, I'm glad you brought it up. So we've tracked it down and it should be installed soon.
So were the murals in this building commissioned by the city or the Arts and Parks Foundation? The Arts and Parks.
Those were donated by the Arts and Parks Foundation, and we will be having an unveiling. I believe the date
Monday.
is on the 20th,
Yes.
Sunday
Mhm.
at 3 o'clock, if anybody would like to join.
And that was Leah Everett's the artist.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I do have a follow-up for the first class ballroom dancing. They will be having 3 sessions, July 15th,
Mm.
August 19th, September 23rd. The times will be between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock PM.
Oh, 3 to 5, not 7 to 8.
I had,
So not
What
every-
I have on the application was 3 to 5.
mm,
It could have changed between the actual application and the final agreement.
we'll check that out. I can send you an email.
Yeah, what we are working on right now is essentially our first, what we'll be calling activity guide. We'll be naming it something other than an activity guide, since it'll likely start with 1 or 2 pages. It could be a newsletter that we put out every 2 months, every 3 months, and it'll list all of the upcoming classes. So we do have a template for it right now, and we're working towards getting that published in order to let everyone know what's coming up for summer.
Nice.
And is that for all the activities or just things that are happening at the mill?
That would be for everything Parks and Recreation.
All right, any other items? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ready to adjourn. The meeting's adjourned.
Okay.
Yay.
So I would only say I moved to adjourn if we prearranged it, right?
Yes, let me go ahead and end this online really quick. Thanks for joining us, Colton.